highly skilled surgeon, trained for years, standing guard outside a building. Or a brilliant engineer, with the mind to build cities, stuck behind the wheel of a taxi. This isn't some fictional scenario. It's the reality for many skilled immigrants right here in Canada. And that's exactly what we're diving into today, this strange situation where Canada welcomes immigrants with open arms, but often leaves their skills, their passions, kind of stranded at the airport, so to speak.
It's a real head-scratcher, isn't it? Canada prides itself on being this diverse mosaic, but we have this system where over half of immigrants with a bachelor's degree end up underemployed, according to Statistics Canada. We're talking about people who are trained, doctors, lawyers, engineers, stuck in jobs that barely scratch the surface of their potential.
It's almost like we're looking at a massive game of professional Tetris, where we're trying to fit these square pegs into round holes. And the source material we have really drives that point home.
Absolutely. What's fascinating and a little disheartening is this jarring contrast. Canada is grappling with labor shortages in several key sectors, yet we have qualified professionals driving taxis, working as cashiers, or even cleaning houses. The disconnect is astounding.
Okay, so let's unpack this a little. We keep hearing this term Canadian experience. What does that even mean, and why is it such a hurdle for skilled immigrants?
It's like this frustrating loop. Employers want to see Canadian experience on resumes, but how do you get that experience if no one will hire you without it? It's a classic catch-22. And it's not just the experience. The accreditation process for foreign credentials can be a nightmare.
So someone who is, say, a fully qualified architect in their home country might have to jump through hoops just to practice in Canada.
Unfortunately, that's often the case. The process can be expensive, time-consuming, and incredibly bureaucratic. It's a major deterrent for many skilled immigrants who simply want to contribute their expertise. And here's the kicker. This underutilization of skills isn't just a personal setback. It's a significant blow to Canada's economy. The Conference Board of Canada estimates that underemployment costs us up to $12.7 billion every single year.
Wow, $12.7 billion. That's a hard number to ignore. To put that into perspective, imagine the potential improvements we could make to our healthcare system, our education system, even our infrastructure. It's almost like we're leaving that money on the table. And that's just the economic side of things. This situation has very real human consequences as well.
Absolutely, and those are often overlooked. These aren't just numbers on a spreadsheet. These are people's lives. Imagine the emotional toll of leaving your career, your home country, everything you know, to come to a new place full of hope, only to be told your skills aren't good enough or that you need Canadian experience. It's incredibly demoralizing.
It's a huge blow to their self-esteem, their sense of purpose, their entire outlook on building a new life in a new country. To really grasp the human cost of the situation, we need to look beyond the statistics and into the lives of those affected. The source material actually highlights a couple of those stories. People like Maria, a teacher with over 10 years of experience back in the Philippines, now cleaning houses to make ends meet in Canada.
It's a scenario we see far too often. And then there's Ahmed, an IT specialist from India who's ended up working in a call center. These are individuals who are respected professionals in their own countries, contributing their skills and knowledge, and suddenly they're in a system that doesn't fully recognize their worth.
It's heartbreaking, really. These stories really emphasize the urgency of finding solutions. They highlight how vital it is that we change the narrative, shift the system, so people like Maria and Ahmed can contribute the skills they brought with them to Canada.
Exactly. And the good news is there are concrete steps we can take to address this issue. It's not about starting from scratch. It's about recognizing the existing potential and creating pathways for it to flourish.
Okay, so let's dive into those steps. What needs to change? Where do we even begin to tackle a problem this complex?
One crucial step is streamlining the accreditation process. Imagine if we had a system that could quickly and effectively assess and recognize international qualifications.
So instead of those long, drawn-out procedures,
it would be like a fast track for talent, allowing skilled immigrants to enter the workforce sooner and contribute their expertise where it's needed.
So instead of those long, drawn-out procedures, we can have a system that recognizes those credentials and facilitates a smoother transition into the Canadian workforce.
Precisely. And it's not just about recognizing credentials, it's about providing support throughout the process. Think guidance counseling, financial aid, anything that can help navigate the often overwhelming bureaucracy. We need to make it easier, not harder, for skilled immigrants to get back on their feet professionally.
It's about giving them the tools and resources they need to succeed, not just expecting them to figure it all out on their own in a new country. It sounds like mentorship programs could be a huge help too. Imagine pairing a seasoned Canadian professional with a skilled immigrant in the same field. That could be a game changer.
Absolutely. Mentorship programs can bridge that Canadian experience gap in a really organic way. It's about fostering connections, sharing insights, and providing guidance that's tailored to the specific challenges faced by newcomers.
It's about building those relationships and networks that are so crucial, especially in a new environment. And that actually brings up another point, hiring practices. Maybe it's time to move beyond that Canadian experience box that's always checked on job applications.
Couldn't agree more. We need employers to embrace inclusive hiring practices. Instead of fixating on Canadian experience, let's start prioritizing skills and potential. Look at what candidates bring to the table, recognize their international experience as valuable, and provide the training needed to fill any gaps.
It's about recognizing that talent and potential don't have borders. A great idea is a great idea, whether it came from someone who's been in Canada for 5 years or 5 months.
Exactly. And here's another thought, employer incentives. What if we gave companies a financial nudge, maybe through tax breaks or grants, to hire skilled immigrants? It could incentivize them to look beyond traditional hiring practices and tap into this underutilized pool of talent.
That's a really interesting idea. It could be a win-win. Employers get access to a wider range of talent and skills, and immigrants get their foot in the door, gaining that all-important Canadian experience.
Precisely. And from a broader perspective, this shift could lead to greater diversity in the workforce, which often translates to more innovative thinking, creative problem solving, and a more dynamic work environment overall.
It's about recognizing that diversity isn't just a box to be ticked. It's a source of strength, innovation, and new ideas. Okay, so you've talked about streamlining accreditation, mentorship, inclusive hiring, and employer incentives. These are some genuinely promising solutions. But let's be real, change like this doesn't happen overnight. What are some of the challenges we might face in trying to implement these ideas?
You're absolutely right. It won't be easy. One of the biggest hurdles is changing deeply ingrained attitudes and practices within organizations. It's about getting people to move beyond simply acknowledging the issue to actually embracing change, putting in the effort, and making those changes part of their core values.
It's about walking the walk, not just talking the talk. And that can be a tough sell, especially when it comes to something as fundamental as hiring practices.
Exactly. It requires a genuine commitment to diversity and inclusion, a willingness to invest the time and resources needed to make a real lasting impact. And it's not just about ticking boxes to meet quotas. It's about creating a culture where everyone feels valued, respected, and empowered to contribute their unique skills and perspectives.
It's about building a system that not only welcomes diversity, but actively cultivates it, recognizes it as a strength. But how do we even begin to shift those deeply ingrained attitudes and practices you mentioned?
It starts with keeping the conversation going, shining a light on this issue, and making sure it doesn't fade into the background. We need to keep sharing stories like Maria's and Ahmed's, highlighting the human impact of this situation.
So it's not enough to just have the solutions. We need to keep pushing for them, keep reminding people why these changes matter.
Absolutely. And that's where you come in.
Hold on, you're talking to me now.
Yeah.
Like directly to me, the listener.
Yes, you. This issue isn't just some abstract concept. It's about the kind of society we want to live in. It's about the values we uphold. Do we want to be a country that welcomes immigrants with open arms but then leaves their skills and talents untapped? Or do we want to be a country that truly embraces diversity, recognizing it as a source of strength, innovation, and prosperity?
It's a question we all need to ask ourselves, because at the end of the day, this isn't just about immigration policy. It's about who we are as a nation. It really makes you think, when we talk about Canada valuing everyone's contributions, we got to make sure we're actually supporting those who are choosing to build a life here. And I think that's what you were saying earlier about diversity being a strength. It's not just like a corporate buzzword.
It really isn't. And it's about, I think, shifting our perspective a little bit. What if, instead of looking at this as a problem to be solved, we start seeing it as an opportunity?
Okay, like where are you going with this? Tell me more.
So instead of looking at underemployment of skilled immigrants as this burden, this strain on resources, we recognize it for what it is. A wellspring of potential just waiting to be tapped into. These are individuals who are coming with often these incredible skills, unique perspectives. They have this global outlook, which is so valuable in today's world.
It's about changing our mindset, right?
Yeah.
Instead of looking at what's missing, let's focus on what we already have. Let's empower these individuals so they can use their talents to the fullest.
Exactly. You think about it, doctors, engineers, entrepreneurs, artists, people from all walks of life. They bring so much to the table. And by tapping into that, we're not just filling in the blanks on a job sheet. We're actually sparking innovation. We're fueling growth, not just economically, but culturally. We're creating a more vibrant Canada for everyone.
Yeah, it's almost like we've been given all the pieces of a puzzle, but instead of trying to jam them into the wrong spots, we just need to take a step back and see the bigger picture.
And when we start viewing diversity as a strategic advantage instead of just something we have to do, that's when things really start to change because
Yeah.
it's a win-win situation here.
Totally.
Yeah.
Skilled immigrants, they get to use their skills, they build a life for themselves. In Canada, we benefit from their expertise, their experiences. Everybody wins.
Well, we've covered a lot today, the challenges, the solutions, even the human cost of not addressing this issue.
It's something that we need to be talking about and, more importantly, acting on. We can't just sit back and watch as potential is wasted, as dreams are put on hold. It's time to do better.
Couldn't agree more. And as we wrap up this episode, we want to leave you with one final thought. What role are you going to play in shaping the future of immigration in Canada? It's a question worth thinking about, and more importantly, it's a question worth acting on. Until next time, keep diving deep and stay curious.